The world needs to know who Catherine Ravenscroft really is. The world needs to know the truth.
Alfonso, welcome to the Awards Tour podcast, and congratulations on this incredible, I'm not going to call it television, I'm going to call it an episodic cinema experience.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Well, I want to kind of start there because this story was one that I know you struggled with in the adaptation because you couldn't figure out how to make it a straight feature. And then you kind of did that anyway, because even though you adapted it, even though it's made for Apple, you then took it out to film festivals and screened it like a film.
Well, the thing is that the methodology that we follow is the one of doing a film. Apple, they have been an incredible partner. I wrote the screenplay. And when I presented to them, I says, look, I want to direct this, but I have to warn you that I don't know how to do television. If I do this, and if you agree, I would do it as a long film because that's the way I would do it. Same way as I wrote it. I didn't write it thinking of cliffhangers and such. Mm. I believe of a flow as a film, and then I would find the natural dramatic breaks or points or thematic breaks that I said, okay, this is an end of a chapter, it's beginning of another chapter. But it was not engineered like I admire television. Don't get me wrong, I admire it, but it's a very specific way of engineering things. So the whole methodology was that of a film. Emmanuel Lubezki, Chivo, and Bruno Del Bonel, the cinematographers, they are Oscar winners. They just done a film as well. So we approach it as such. So I think that the experience is one that you can watch episodically, like week after week, but also you can watch it like a long film. In festivals, it was screened in 2 sessions. The first 3 hours and 20 minutes in one session, and then the other one that is like 2 hours, 15 minutes in a second session. I guess that experience is the same. The only thing is the flow when you watch more episodes together.
One thing I noticed, so I saw it when I saw it at Venice, I saw the first 3 chapters. And then I waited a while before I eventually saw the rest. I know, I'm a busy girl. Don't be mad at me. I wanted to get there. I really did. But I was like, and I thought about it and it lingered with me. I know. You're like, how did you stop in the middle of my movie, girl? I know. I'm sorry. I'm a bad girl. But then I watched the last 4 on my way home on the plane because I had the screeners and I was making my way to it. It was like I was 2 different people watching this. And that's why this interview is actually going to come out after everybody kind of knows the twists and turns. And I wanted to do it this way because you are a tricky individual, sir. But we'll get to that. I'm gonna start with this to say, is there anything when you were doing it that you sort of had to change your cinema mindset? Because although I was watching it, again, episodically, it did feel like a movie and it felt like I was just an intermission. And then like a movie, I didn't want to just go back and watch certain parts of it. I wanted to watch the whole thing over again with this new perspective.
Again, I didn't change anything because I don't know what to change in that.
Oh, fair.
You know, I just did it the way I'm used to work before. And also I have a great group of collaborators, but at most, none of them have done anything but films before. So that's what we know how to do. And so we did it like that. And then again, we separated in the dramatic blocks that we thought were the competent, the natural ones. What we really, and that was something that we worked very carefully with Cate, is to make sure that we would not be misleading.
Yeah.
In many ways, in other words, that we're not kind of cheating, along the way. If you have a second viewing of everything, you see that everything was out there in the open. It was more what it was, because the whole show is composed of different narratives. These narratives, they have a voiceover. So I mean, first person, second person, and third person on top of a narrative that comes out of a book. Each one has a different cinematic language. But there's a narrative that is even more important. That is the narrative created by the audience, by their own judgment. If you review the whole thing, you realize you can watch the show without your judgment, because there's no judgment to make anymore. You already have made your judgment and been confronted with your judgment. And you can watch the dynamics of one family and what is really lying beneath. Those behaviors that apparently they came out because of this big secret, they were already there, maybe dormant, but they were already there. You see a woman that is constantly trying to articulate what happened to her, a truth that is really difficult to articulate. And what she needs is time to articulate it and the help of a relationship of affection that maybe would help her. One is the mother, but the mother, unfortunately, now is senile. And now she's always trying to talk, and nobody lets her talk. But same as nobody let her talk, all the other characters, in many ways, the audience also is not interested in hearing her. Everybody's jumping to the wagon of the judgment, of the quick judgment of this character.
Yeah, the quick judgment is right. One of the reasons why I think it's easy to judge her is that you have Cate Blanchett acting, and she's giving every moment and every emotion, just literally from the first episode when she's confronted, for folks that don't know yet, which I hope they have, because we're going to spoil a crap load of it. She opens this book, and it's basically, this book is an accusation, this novel that has details from her previous life, from a summer when she was young and a young boy who helped save her son on the beach. She gets this accusation through the course of this book. And then and we don't even know what the accusation is until, much later. Like, you kind of unravel all of the parts of this book with it. Was it storyboarded in the sense of, like, there was I know it was in the scripting phase, but you also kind of had to play with that a little bit when you're on the set with Cate. So how did you sort of ground her, and what conversations did you have with her as far as how she was approaching? Because it really is like peeling back an onion, and you all knew what the onion was, you knew where it was going, but you had to be careful where you peeled layers here and there.
Yes. Now, the thing is that Cate, from the moment I invited Cate and she accepted, and that was, it was the happiest day of my life, because when I was writing, I was just thinking of her, and I was terrified that she would say no. Cate became an instant close collaborator. When you see her credit of executive producers, that is not cosmetic. We know that many credits are cosmetic. This is far from cosmetic. She got involved in the casting choices. It was a constant conversation with Cate. And then, more importantly, in the shape of the screenplay. Going through every single thing, she found so many inconsistencies that says, what, I think we're misleading the audience here. We cannot mislead. Because I was too close to the forest, and she would find those moments and says, okay, how can we translate that? And then it is the big challenge that Cate had was that in a normal film or a normal show, usually the introduction is a normal life. You see the normal life of a family or of a character at work or wherever, in which is the normal life for the whole beginning. You set up how the interaction without the family and so on before the crisis arrives. Here, the crisis arrives immediately. That book arrives immediately. So, and the thing is that immediately she's triggered by that past. And the amount of research that Cate did, and to bring the detail that she brings into that character is incredible. If you would see her screenplays, they're filled of writing and writing on top of writing with reference of other moments and scenes that she has to mirror in terms of behavior, or a reference of some book or some other novel or some research that she had done. One after the other is incredible to see that, because Cate says very little words.
Yeah.
It's her behavior that is guiding and driving everything. And it's just the little details that if you watch it for the second time, you'll see how relevant all those details are.
Yeah. I think it's a testament to the fact that you had Cate, but in addition to that, you had Kevin Kline and Sacha Baron Cohen. I mean, the cast that you were able to assemble for this is incredible, and they all, I think, have powerhouse moments in that last episode. That last episode, wasn't a great cinematic experience before we got there, but that last episode is some of the most powerful storytelling I've ever seen, because you realize this person who we've cast as the villain is a victim. And then in turn, the people that we have been championing, we have essentially been a part of a mob. That was so confronting, I think is the word that Cate said when she was reading the screenplay. I mean, you can pick any scene. I'm just going to pick the elevator scene with Sasha as one of those moments. That's like a key moment. Talk about that day. And then also just the Kevin Kline of it all, because we haven't seen him that much on screen. You knew when he was showing up for this that if we're going to see a Kevin Kline-assance, as it were, this is stop one right here, like him more on our screen.
Well, let's talk about Kevin first. Cate and I, had many discussions about who would play Stephen. There was something about this character that had to be cunning, the way he was, but also it needed to have a certain charm. It needed to be someone that we could trust, even if he's doing the most. And actually, you should enjoy him misbehaving in the way that is like we embody our desire to misbehave. We channel it through Kevin, through Stephen, and at the same time, she should be able to convey immense grief and pain, a great vulnerability, and a big emotional depth that something also has happened in his past. And we went through different choices and some amazing actors, but for some reason we were not hitting the right tone. It was one day, I remember Cate was in New York, I was in London, and she called me and said, hey, I was at the dinner and we were discussing, we were laughing and talking about a fish called Wanda. I said, you mean Kevin? And she said, yes, Kevin. Says, whoa, brilliant. And I says, yes, because I heard that he has done British before. And the way in which Kevin embraced the role, first of all, he's American. He's playing a Brit, but also a very specific kind of Londoner with a very specific accent of a very specific social class, in which he drifts from one class to accent to another. He uses the more scholar British to talk to certain people, or when he's talking to us and his voiceover. But when he's as a teacher early on, but when he is trying to be the vulnerable old man, he just switches the accent into what is here. It would be a British lower
middle class, like a suburb kid,
and the way in which, when we were sorting costumes, we were trying several things, and then it was the moment that I sort of found, says, okay, try this cardigan that he learned to hate because it was very itchy. He tried the cardigan, and then, okay, now let's put the layer on top. And I says, oh, it's uncomfortable and it's itchy and stuff. And he looks at the mirror, and immediately his body language changed. He went, and I says, oh yeah, I think a little hump would be good, because we added a little hump and a tummy, and we added a little tummy later, And like that, he started doing, okay, the moments in which you see this transformation from completely energetic, that suddenly he goes to perform this very fragile old man that is so trustworthy, that is just a sweet old man. And so he was incredible. So throughout the whole thing, we have seen Robert that has been interacting with this very vulnerable old man. And the last time we see them, before that scene you're talking in the elevator, actually what Robert enters, and he sees this very fragile old man kind of dissolving, and he goes to help him. And what Robert doesn't realize is the first time that vulnerability, that fragility, that is honest and for real, because is a vulnerability that is the weight of shame, the weight of regret, and all of that weight. And soon after, that is that scene you're referring to, is Robert who wants an explanation from Stephen because he was conned by Stephen.
Quite well. Yeah, quite well.
Well, quite well, or also Robert allowed it. Robert allowed it, but because what Stephen did is like any populist leader does, is not that he's creating pathological behaviors. It's allowing the pathological behaviors to spring
flourish.
To flourish. So he rushes to speak with this man, questioning, because setting all the blame not only of how he completely told the wrong story, but also in many ways is the blame of why you allow all of these horrible things to come out of me. And the answer of Stephen is in one level is about why you didn't tell me. I says, I didn't know. And says, but you should have known because he's the father of that kid and the wife, the husband of Nancy. And the answer is, why didn't question it? And the answer of Stephen is what you didn't question it. And it's why you didn't question it, anything that I was saying, why you didn't question your own behavior. And it's the problem with narratives. The narratives now, the way that we're addicted to narratives is that we receive narratives and we're addicted to narratives, but we don't question them. We just enjoy, we're immersed in the enjoyment of narratives and of contradictory narratives.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. They're making me cut off, but I wanted to make sure I got to. Yes, I'm so sorry. Because we had 20 minutes.
We just started.
I know.
Because we were saying you were going to do it at the end.
I know, but it's okay. It's okay.
Finally, I've been repressing these conversations for so long. And
I just want to say thank you for this incredible show. I have 80 more questions. We'll talk more, I promise.
Okay.